a grown man come out, and I was not expecting you, that's more sus than a sus on a sus. What? Thank you for anybody that said bless you. Sup? Though, come on, Craig. What you got for me today? Pause. No pause? I don't know. Sup, though?
This wasn't all that long ago. It actually wasn't until after this happened that I even knew about the horrible encounters other people also had on Craigslist. I always thought it was relatively safe, so long as you were cautious enough. Apparently, I didn't follow my own rules.
That's with everything, though. If you cautious enough, it could be safe. If you're not, close the curtains.
This was during the first month that I moved into my new home. It was a pretty long move across the country into a relatively new area for me. I sold almost everything before the move, so for the first little while, I would casually scroll through Craigslist whenever I was bored, hoping to find anything I might need.
Wow.
Mostly furniture, or just things to make the house feel less empty.
You know what you're gonna find? You know what you're gonna find? You know what you're gonna find? Clockness. I don't know where that bass came from though, but clockness.
Before this, I'd actually already found a few things on Craigslist and picked them up and had no issues at all. So I really didn't have much reason to be nervous.
What?
One night after work, I happened to scroll by a post of a fairly nice looking couch. It was almost perfect to what I was hoping to find. A gray sectional sofa that was apparently in great condition, and it was all for a decent price, $200. The guy responded pretty quickly. His name was Brian, and from the texts, he seemed like a chill dude. We agreed on the price and started figuring out the plan to meet up. The big issue was that I only had an SUV. It could maybe fit one section of the sofa at a time, and he lived in the next town over, so I'd have to drive there and back multiple times just to get the whole thing to my place. When I mentioned that I didn't have a way to pick up the whole couch at once, he kindly offered to use his pickup truck to drop it off at my place. Of course, I ideally wanted to see it in person before buying it, and didn't feel too comfortable with giving some random guy my address. But it was just so much more convenient, and made a lot more sense to do it this way. And he wasn't pushy or weird about it in any way at all. He genuinely seemed like he was offering a solution. So after a bit of thinking it over, I agreed. We were set for him to swing by my place.
It's getting more scarier with these horror stories, because it's like people are starting to seem more normal, more casual, more genuine. When in the end, it's cluckness for everybody. Everybody can get it. Because before, it was like you knew who the cluckies were. Now it was like, oh, y'all getting, okay now, hold on now. I can't really, it's hard for me to distinguish between a real, genuine, good, wholesome person and a clucky. Jesus.
30 on the following day. I went to bed early, and in the morning I sent him my address, then spent the rest of the day cleaning the other rooms of the house.
You know what would have what? You know what would have been dope? If he had one of those, like the owner of this house that's telling this story, had one of those Men in Black memory things where you flash it That would have been dope. You know? You flash it, and you're like, where am I at? I don't know where you at, but it's not gonna be over here, so go ahead and move. Like that'd be tough.
Once it got closer to 5:30, I stayed in the living room and watched TV, leaving the blinds partially open. Almost at exactly 5:30, I saw headlights coming down the road. A few seconds later, a black pickup truck slowly passed by. As they did, I noticed that there was no couch in the bed of the truck,
Wow.
so I figured it was just a neighbor or something, and continued waiting. However, just a few minutes later, that same truck passed by again. It was really strange the way they slowed down, like they were looking at my house, or maybe even through the windows as they were passing by. Kind of just gave me an uneasy feeling, but I still figured it was nothing. I sent Brian a text, making sure he was still on his way, then continued watching TV. After I sent that text, I didn't see any more trucks passing by outside. Even more strange, though, was that Brian never texted me back. He never showed up or even updated me on anything.
But he got the address to your house.
At 6:30, an hour past when he was supposed to be here, I sent another text, only for it to not go through, meaning that he blocked my number. I didn't know what went wrong, but overall, I wasn't too concerned.
What?
More just bothered.
Did you forget that you gave him your address? You starting to piss me off.
That he wasted my time. Maybe he found someone else who'd pay more, or something else came up, and he just didn't want to deal with giving me the bad news, so he ghosted me instead. It happens, I guess. As it got later into the night, I was mostly over it. I had dinner, set up my office room in the house, and chilled in bed watching YouTube for the rest of the night. I don't even remember falling asleep. I think I just passed out in the middle of a video, but I'm pretty sure I was out for at least a couple hours. I woke up in the middle of the night to a really unsettling sound. It was a long wooden creak, which I was absolutely sure was the front door creaking open. I knew it because it always bothered me, being the only squeaky door in the house. But who the hell just opened it? I sat up and stared toward my bedroom door.
Please don't tell me you forgot to lock the door. Please. Because I might spaz on Toby in the bed. Something tells me that you forgot to lock the door. Something told me that because you were expecting him to come to your house with a couch, you somehow just left the door unlocked. I really hope that's not the case, and I really hope you locked the door and homie just picked the lock.
I listened. I could hear subtle footsteps moving into the house below me.
Oh, really? Because I can't hear nothing. I'm out of there. The only thing that looks like me is my after image, because that's how fast I move. Because what you talking about?
I probably wouldn't have been able to hear them if not for the echo of the empty home. I felt myself start to panic, but I remained still, almost stuck in place. The footsteps seemed to stop as they reached the bottom of the staircase. Several long seconds of silence went by before a man's voice called out. Not just anything, though. He was calling out my name. His voice was deep and sounded like an older man, but I didn't recognize it as anyone I knew. He called out my name again. Disturbingly, there was no emotion behind it. He was monotone, just saying my name over and over from the bottom of the stairs, like he knew I was up here. I quietly reached for my phone to call 911. I was extremely scared that he'd hear me talking to the operator, but honestly, I felt like I had no choice. I whispered as quietly as I could, The man still stayed at the stairs, calling out my name. Once the cops were on the way, I moved from my bed to my closet. I didn't know if the man was actually going to come up to look for me or not. Clearly something was wrong with them, so I wasn't taking my chances.
No, ain't nothing wrong with him. Ain't nothing wrong with him. Nothing. With an F. Nothing. Ain't nothing wrong. Ain't nothing wrong with him at all. He know what he doing. He know where he at. He's in the right mind. Granted, it's a clock mind, but he's in his right mind. He know what he doing. What's up?
Only 30 seconds after I moved into the closet, though, the man's voice stopped calling out. From the closet, I couldn't really hear anything else, like footsteps or doors, so I got really anxious, unsure where he was, or if he could be right outside my bedroom right now. Fortunately, in a couple minutes, officers arrived. The house was empty. Whoever that guy was that came in, he was gone. I immediately told the officers about the Craigslist situation because I was sure it had to be Brian. I mean, I'd just given him my address that day and saw
that took you forever to realize that.
Truck suspiciously passing by earlier. I still had his phone number, so I felt confident they could track him down. But there were a few problems. When my messages weren't going through, it turned out it wasn't because he blocked me. It was because that number no longer existed. It was a dead line. There was no way to trace it back to him. And the second issue is that even if we figured out who he was, there wasn't any way to pin him for being the one that broke in. Still, I'm almost 100% sure it was the guy from Craigslist. I wonder if maybe he was planning to have me or whoever responded to his listing go to his place where he was more prepared to do whatever it was he was trying to do. But for some reason, he thought he could still follow through with it at my place by breaking in. Maybe he overestimated himself. I really don't know. It's also really strange that he stayed downstairs and just called out my name. Anyway, the cops said it looked like he picked the lock on my front door, so I replaced it and installed a camera. I didn't really have the option to move, so I'm trying to take any precautions necessary. Nothing has happened since.
I'm saying, I hope you got off of Craigslist after that. You got a car. Go to the thrift store or something. Cassie?
Every once in a while, I find myself looking through sites like Craigslist, eBay, and other similar ones for random things I might want or need. It was kind of like online thrifting, just something fun to do, and sometimes even got me great deals on stuff I wouldn't have bought otherwise. This was in 2018, so a pretty long while ago. I had found a few things on Craigslist that I was interested in. The listing showed a bin full of home decor, like candles and picture frames and just cute decorations for around the house. My apartment was pretty bare bones, so I thought a bunch of random decorations could liven up the place.
Nah.
I messaged the woman, April, and she was super kind. Basically, she said she was moving and wanted to sell off all the stuff she didn't want, or thought might break during the moving process. Her goal was just to get rid of it all, so she didn't mind selling them for dirt cheap. She said for $20 she'd be happy to let me pick out whatever I wanted, or even everything, if I wanted all of it. We agreed to meet at a nearby parking lot after she got out of work at 6 on a Thursday night.
Oh.
I got out of work at 5 that day, so I just went straight there from the office. The place we agreed on was a parking lot for a grocery store, which was pretty busy around that time. There were a bunch of people coming and going. I texted April what my car looked like and where I was in the lot, then just waited. It was the middle of winter, so I had the car blasting heat and was hoping she'd get here sooner rather than later. But I got a text just a few minutes after I got there, saying she was getting out late and was hoping I could possibly meet up closer to her.
Nah.
Obviously, this was a bit frustrating, but she seemed really sorry.
Nah.
And if it ended up saving both of us time, then I guess it wasn't too big of a deal for me to drive a little bit more. April sent over the address to another parking lot that was closer to her, so I just put the address into my GPS and started driving there. I hadn't been over to that side of town very much, so I wasn't sure exactly where it was taking me. The drive was about 15 minutes. Even though it was only about 6:30 when I got there, because it was winter, the sun had already set and it was fairly dark out.
Man!
But what made it even more dark was that all the buildings in the parking lot had their lights off.
Wow.
Essentially, it was a small lot for an outdoor strip mall, but it was empty and nobody was there except for one car parked on the far edge near the end of the parking space.
Jesus!
Something felt off about it
You think?
as I pulled in. April mentioned she had a red Toyota SUV, which was the one car that was parked over there, so I drove over and parked just a few spaces away. The contrast between the busy public parking lot she chose before to now this deserted, empty lot was really strange.
I'm like, oh no, we're not doing this, boo-boo. Sorry. I'm waiting over here. I can wait for you. I'll wait for you. I'm gonna wait for you. 1 more minute. Then I'm out of here. I find somebody else. Not off of Craigslist. Not off of Yale.
I told myself I'd just see how it goes, since I was already here, and if anything makes me feel too weird, I'd dip out. I got out and stood by my car, waiting for April to get out as well. I realized as I stood there, I couldn't see into her windows. They were maybe tinted, but also the lighting made it difficult to see through. But while I was standing out there in the cold, I started to feel increasingly less comfortable. I was only out there for maybe 15 seconds before I was about to decide to get back in and leave, when their door opened. But a man got out.
Okay.
He looked like he was in his 30s, with dark hair and a heavy tan winter jacket. He quickly explained that April couldn't make it and was held up at work still.
Oh, yeah? She couldn't let me know that. She couldn't. That's cool. That's good. Don't touch. Don't touch. That's cool. That's good. Don't touch. Don't touch. I'll clock you up. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. I'll clock you up with my runny nose. I got you. I'm going to just go to my car and just drive off. She could have let me know that. Because it was sus that you didn't want to meet up in the... That you changed locations. It was sus for that. Then we came over here. It was more sus over here. Right? And then I see the car in the back of the parking lot. That's sus. And then I'm standing outside the freezing cold for 15 seconds. A grown man come out. And I was not expecting you. That's more sus than a sus on a sus. What? That made no sense. 5 susses don't make a right sus. That's all I'm saying. And I would have left.
He was here to give me the stuff from Craigslist. I thought this was super weird, and that I would have gotten a text if that was the case. It felt like that information was hidden from me until I'd already showed up. In my hesitation to respond, he also mentioned that because all of the hassle, he'd let me take everything for free if I'd like. He smiled as he opened up the trunk and stepped back, motioning for me to come over and look. I didn't exactly know the best way to leave, but I was sure I was not going to go over there. Maybe if this were all in a more public place, I'd be less skeptical. But out there, where nobody else was around, I was really unsettled. I quickly started going back into my car, as I said I was just going to call April really quick, just to make sure. His smile faded as I walked back and got in my car. I opened my messages, then called April's number. A few seconds later, the muffled sound of a phone ringing came from outside. I looked over. He slowly reached into his pocket and ended the call. My stomach dropped. In an instant, he started hurrying up to my door as I turned my car on and sped out of there.
Okay.
I was almost sure that this was all a setup, and there never was anyone named April. It was likely that man...
Yeah, it was. April Fools. I'm gonna cluck you up. I got it though. That was good. Was that good? I don't know.
Did the whole time, just pretending to be an innocent woman selling decor in hopes to lure in other girls like me. I can only imagine what would have happened had I gone over toward the open trunk of his car. After that night, I called my sister to talk about what happened, and she told me to call the police, so I did. However, since nothing really happened, and there's technically no crime for pretending to be a girl named April, although suspicious, they couldn't do anything about it. To me, it's very clear this was a setup that likely had horrifying intentions behind it. I really just hope nobody else fell for it.
I feel like they did. They did. Because you almost did. The fact that you almost fell for it lets me know that other people fell for it. Yeah, I mean, look, you dealing with Craig. It's another story. I did not know it was another story. You dealing with Craig. What'd you expect? What city is that?
For the last several years, I've lived a normal life in this city.
What city?
It's where I stayed pretty much all day, every day. I owned a condo just a couple miles from where I worked, so everything was very convenient, and there was no reason to leave the area. This week, however, I had a couple issues with my condo that were starting to really bother me, and hiring someone to fix them would have been way overpriced. But I had no tools myself, so to save as much as possible, I went on Craigslist to see if anyone was selling some second-hand...
To save as much as possible, you went to Craigslist. Is that really the best option? No, it's not.
Toolkits. It was about time I get one anyway. Surprisingly, there were a ton. Some were worse deals than others, but I just needed some basic stuff, so I kept looking until I found something that seemed decent. A lightly used toolkit with everything I needed for a respectable price. I sent an email, and within just 15 minutes, we were set to meet up. The guy said that I could come by his place and pick it up tomorrow, whenever I was available. I worked until 7, but I usually like to stay up anyway, so I was good with it. His address was pretty far though, at least for me. It was 45 minutes outside of the city, in a very small town that I somehow had never heard of. On the satellite view of maps, it looked like just 100 or so houses clumped up in one area. Come the following day after work, I made the drive out of the city. The roads were pretty empty, and honestly kinda nice once I was away from all the buildings. It was well past sundown when I started getting close. It looked like mostly wooded areas with just a few gas stations and shops around. The neighborhood I pulled into was sketchy to say the least. All the houses were mixed in with the forest, and they were clearly very old.
Sir.
They looked like they had been there for over 100 years and really hadn't had any renovations.
Sus.
Some looked abandoned for sure. This had me a little put off.
All of this right here needs to be remodeled. Remodeled, the road, the trees, the light, all of it.
Continued through the wooded road and finally got to the address the guy sent me. It looked no different than all the rest of the homes. Small, old, and barely standing. Although I felt a little uneasy about this neighborhood, it was in the back of my mind that I was very much from the city and wasn't used to places like this. So I thought it might have not been as bad as I was making it out to be.
No, it's as bad as you making it out to be honest with you. I'm not in the city, and I'm not familiar with, I'm not used to roads like that, houses like that. I'm not. That whole neighborhood, I'm not used to that. So I feel, yeah, no. It's about shit. Stuff about to hit the fan.
I parked on the end of the driveway and stepped out. Right away, I noticed how quiet it was. It was so quiet that it felt unnatural. No people outside, or sounds coming from any of the houses, or even cars driving by. Just dead silence. I walked up to the house and knocked on the door. As I stood on the porch and waited, I had this strange feeling that made me keep looking behind me. But after a minute, the door opened.
That was a long time.
The guy that answered was about average height, with longish brown hair and an unkempt beard. He definitely didn't look the most put together. He showed me inside and over to the living room, where sitting on the couch, there was a thick tool bag holding all the tools that he was selling. One thing that made the whole situation feel more eerie was that there were basically no lights on in the house. There was only a single lamp in the living room that barely produced anything more than shadows. Also, as we walked into the living room, I noticed the back...
What? Why are we walking anywhere? Inside the house. What are we doing? See? And that's... That you...
by the hallway was hanging on its hinges, like completely broken in the doorway leading outside. I didn't exactly know what to look for when it came to the kit, but honestly, I just wanted to pay for it and leave. I pretended to look through it, but just pulled my cash out and turned around to hand it to him, when I noticed he wasn't there.
Man.
The room was empty.
Oh, okay, best believe! If you not there, I'm not there. If you not there, and you was just there a second ago, clutch. I'm not there either. Cause you're not about to be the only one disappearing. You're not about to be the only one doing magic tricks. I promise you. I'm out of there. You got it. Nah.
Where the hell did this guy go? I called out for him, but the house was extremely quiet. There were slight creaks coming from the walls and floors all around the house, but I couldn't tell if it was just the old house settling or not. I felt my adrenaline spiking. I think my gut knew this was really bad. I called out one more time for him as I slowly made my way back to the front door, leaving the tools behind. Just when I got into the hallway, though, someone was standing there. It was a different guy.
Okay.
I couldn't see him well because he was standing in the shadow, but I could tell he was noticeably taller and wider than the other guy. I was just heading to my car to grab some money, if that's all right. I said casually, hoping he'd just move out of the way and let me go. He didn't answer.
Okay.
The way he was standing was like he was intentionally blocking the hallway. I stood there trying to think of what to do, but just a second later, I heard a creak to my right. I turned my head.
Why did I jump and look to my right? Oh my God.
The room beside me was pitch black. If I had to guess, I think it was the kitchen, but it was honestly so dark in there that I couldn't tell. Somehow in that moment, my survival instincts just kicked in, and I sprinted to the broken back door I remembered seeing. As I ran out of the house, I heard several loud creaks that definitely sounded like footsteps running behind me. Thankfully, the house didn't have a fence, so I was able to just run right around and back to the front. As I was running back up to my car, someone jumped out from behind it and started running away.
Oh my God.
I didn't know what they were doing, but I knew I had to leave, so I just unlocked it and got in, then floored it out of there. I was still under the adrenaline rush for a while after that. I'm pretty sure there were multiple people in that house, and that one of them was trying to either break into my car or prevent it from running, so I couldn't get away. I can't say exactly what they intended to do, But if I didn't get out when I did, I'm not confident I ever would have.
You wouldn't. The fact that you went inside the house lets me know that you're going to get clocked up one day. That's it. You low-key pissed me off with that one too. Look, I do not condone and want to advertise being on Craigslist. In fact, I wish it never existed, right? But if you have to use Craigslist, if you have to 100%, if you're going to meet up with somebody, if you have to use Craigslist and you have to meet up with somebody, or if they come into your house, my nose been crazy. Make sure it's at least one other person with you. Do not meet up with nobody off of Craigslist all alone. Don't tell them to come to your house and you're the only one in the house. Don't meet. You got it. You got it. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy. My family.